Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Let's start our meeting with recitation of Kitab Al-Fatihah. Bismillah.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim.
Inshallah, we will continue today with the topic of purpose statement. So last time we discussed how to write chapter 1, and we discussed how to write the problem statement. So after writing the problem statement, we need to write about the purpose statement. So in the purpose statement, there are two things that we need to write. One is the research questions, and the other one is the research objective. So in the purpose statement, it conveys the intent of the study. We need to distinguish between purpose statement, research problem, and research questions. The purpose statement sets forth the intent of the study. So sometimes we call research objectives. Usually research objectives, we have the general objective of the study, which states in one sentence the intent or the aim or the objective of the study. The purpose or the objective is not the research questions. Research questions is stated in the form of the research. Yeah, so research questions is stated in the form of the questions, right?
Yeah.
And the purpose or the objective is written as the statement. However, in practice, if we have 5 research questions, we would have 5 research purpose. And the research questions and the research purpose usually mirror each other. Research questions is in the form of questions, and research purpose is in the form of a statement. The purpose statement sets the objective, the intent, or the main idea. So that is the general objective, and then we have a specific objective. Okay, so there are, like we discussed before, there are 2 types of research. One is qualitative research, and the other one is the quantitative research, right? I think some of us are doing the qualitative research, and some is working on, some are working on the quantitative research. Let's look at the qualitative purpose statement. According to Schwann 2007, good qualitative purpose statements contain information about the central phenomenon explored in the study. So in the purpose statement in qualitative research, it contains information about the issue or the phenomenon, what's going on, the phenomenon that the researchers want to study. It also mentions the participants in the study. Sometimes, for example, the researchers want to do the participant observation or the non-participant observation. So in that case, who are the participants in the study? It should mention, for example, a sociology study that wants to research on the some type of or some group of people, for example, the native people So those are the participants of the study. So the participants of the study depends on the topic and the intent of the study, and also the research site. So where the research is going to take place. So this is the general idea about writing a purpose statement in a qualitative research. So the purpose statement in the qualitative research gives information on design and uses research words from the language of qualitative inquiry. We will talk more about the research design in the qualitative research in future classes. Anybody here doing the qualitative study? Usually here at Unishams, when we do qualitative study, we focus on the design that plans to collect data from library research. So qualitative study, usually we design it as a library research, or the data is collected from the survey, something like that. Rarely, jarang-jarang kita dapati kualitatif research yang mengkaji tentang certain types of groups of people or certain individuals or certain locations, right? So in the section of purpose statement, usually we use the word purpose of this study, or the intent of the study, or the aim of the study, or the objective of the study, to signal attention to the statement. So in qualitative research, sometimes the researcher use the word like the purpose or intent or objective of this study is blah, 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 right? Okay, so that is the general purpose of the qualitative research. You can ask any questions, otherwise I will be like a non-stop bus. You need to stop me. You can ask questions or comments if I say something that is not clear, or if I say something wrong. Welcome, everybody. This is I think the 5th class of the research methodology class. So for those of you who missed the class, I will give you the link to view the previous classes. And I will give you the link also to the Google Classroom. But you need to register for the class first. So we are still working on registering all of you in this class. There is some technical problems because you cannot register after a certain date, right? So the kuliah, we have to register you in the class. We are working on it.
Halo, Prof.
Yes, Bapak Aji, silakan.
Okay, Prof. Can I ask a question, Prof?
Yes, you can ask
Okay.
many questions.
Prof, some say that research with a qualitative objective is less attractive than grade is below the quantitative one. What do you think about that, Prof?
Yes, before I answer that question, okay, for quantitative research, usually the research objectives and research questions are obtained from the theoretical framework of the study. So usually it's very specific. You are right. In quantitative research, the research questions and the research objectives are very specific. For example, they have 5 research questions and they have 5 research objectives in the quantitative study, right? So how do you write research questions and research objectives in the quantitative research? You need to look at the theoretical framework of the study. So the theoretical framework of the study will guide you in writing the research questions and research objectives. However, in qualitative research, there is no prior theory. There is no prior theoretical framework, right? So the objective to write the research questions and research objectives for the qualitative study, usually the idea is quite broad at the beginning because the researchers do not have any prior theory. The researchers don't have a theoretical framework of the study. So you are right. The purpose statement for qualitative study is broad, and at the beginning, so sometimes it's not very specific. The researchers don't have any prior theory. They have like the general intent of the study. So that's the difference between purpose statement in qualitative research and in quantitative research. So let me repeat. For quantitative research, there must be a prior theory, right? In quantitative research, we start with theory, and then we collect data, and then we analyze data. And then we try to examine whether the data support or reject the theory. So theory first, right? And then collect data. And then from the data, we try to decide. We try to come to conclusion whether the data support or do not support the theory. However, in qualitative research, it's the reverse. Yeah, Bapak Haji, Bapak Haji Pamungkas, it's the reverse. In qualitative research, the purpose statement is quite broad. The researchers try to get the data. Get the data first, collect the data, and then examine the data. And from the data, maybe the researcher can come up with a certain what we call theory, certain concepts that he or she wants to come up. So in qualitative, data comes first. The last data, from the data, we came up with the theory. So that is the idea of the qualitative research. So the qualitative research uses what we call the inductive reasoning. The inductive reasoning means the researcher do not have any prior theory. So the researcher collect data, analyze the data, then get the theory. So that is called the inductive approach.
Okay.
So in a quantitative is the quantitative research use the what we call the deductive approach. The deductive approach means the researcher comes up with a theoretical framework, collect the data, analyze the data, and then try to show or to prove that the data either supports the theory or does not support the theory. So in the usually in the qualitative research, researchers often use the present or past tense in journal articles and dissertations, and the future tense in proposals.
Excuse me, what's wrong with the sound? It's so crowded, it's noisy. Is it in my party or a Chinese New Year party or what?
Somebody please mute.
Yeah.
All right. Where were we? So in qualitative research, researchers often use the present or past tense in journal articles and dissertations. Present tense or past tense. But in proposals, okay, the researchers use the future tense. For example, the purpose of the study will be, okay, or the purpose of the study will be future tense, right? In proposals, or you can also use the present tense also. So usually at the early stage, the researchers use future tense because they want to study about something that is not yet undertaken. So in qualitative research, researchers focus on a single phenomenon or a single concept or a single idea, and then narrow the study to one thought to be examined, to be explored, or to be understood. So narrow the study means to focus, yeah, because we need to focus, otherwise we cannot finish. So the focus means that a purpose does not relate two or more variables or compare two or more groups. So in a qualitative, usually the researchers do not relate two or more variables, right? There is no causal relationships in qualitative research. Okay, and usually qualitative research usually doesn't compare two or more groups, but sometimes researchers also can compare two or more groups in a qualitative research. For example, the researcher wants to examine the opinions of Sharia experts in Indonesia as compared to the opinions of Sharia experts in Malaysia regarding certain products, certain Islamic finance products, whether they are compliant or not compliant with the Sharia. So it depends. Usually in qualitative research, they don't compare two groups, but it is not wrong to compare the two groups because they want to make comparison, right? So, Bapak Haji,
Yes.
did I answer your question or am
Yeah,
I?
yeah, yeah.
Or am
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Yeah, it's enough. But Prof, this is the second question, Prof.
Sure, sure.
About the purpose of a statement. Do we have to make a statement or propose statement always after the research question is there first, or maybe it can be flexible, Prof? You
Good
said
question. Good question. I found that some researchers, they put the research purpose or research objective first. Then
okay,
they write the research questions, right?
okay,
So there is no consensus. But some people, they argue that uh, the research questions should follow the research, the problem statement, because to make the flow uh, smoother, to make the flow become smooth.
but
Okay.
Prof, in yeah, when we have to get the idea, yeah, Prof. Yeah, maybe in the first time we have some proposed statement first.
Right.
Then after that, we can make a problem statement. So
Yeah.
I think it's just only the technically how to write in the paper. Yeah, is that true, Prof?
100% agreed. 100%.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, thank you.
I
Okay,
agree with you.
okay,
So some people, they write the research questions after the research, after the problem statement, because both a problem statement and research questions are in the form of, in the form of questions, something that we want to answer, right? So research problems, sometimes they write research problem in terms of the issues, a few issues that needs solutions, right? In the problem statement. So they say, they think like, okay, after stating the issues,
yes,
and then the issues that needs solutions, right?
okay,
So they feel like, okay, then I want to put it in the form of research questions, then research problems. But I agree with you. Sometimes, especially in the qualitative research, it makes more sense to state the purpose first, like the general purpose, then you write the research questions. So it depends. So when I did my master's in the US,
yes,
I studied a degree and master's in the United States. Um, in the United States, if you write your research purpose, you don't have to write research questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it depends on the
It's
style.
amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
noted, Prof.
Yeah, when I did the project paper for undergraduate and also the dissertation for masters, I didn't write the research questions. So it's enough with the research purpose or research objective. But in Malaysia, I find that even at masters and at PhD level, it is required to write both research questions and research objectives. So it depends. Um, so it's up to you which one makes more sense to write a research purpose first or research questions first. There is nothing wrong. If, for example, the examiner says, oh, for example, you write the research purpose first and then followed by research questions. If the examiner says, okay, Miss Bapa Aji, you need to write research questions first, then it's just a cut and paste. So shouldn't be a problem. Because the thing is, some people, they have strong opinion on certain things, right? Some examiners, they feel this way. The other examiners feel that way. So some examiners, they feel like they should write the research questions first. Some examiners, they suggest you write the research purpose first. So you just follow, you just want to pass, right? So
Why? Yeah. Why I ask the question of Prof, because sometimes Prof, when I make some draft proposal, sometimes I've got ideas. Usually my ideas usually come up without following the existing theory, Prof.
okay.
Sometimes, Prof.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes. But my suggestion is, okay, for students, when we are students, right? So the research the problem statement, right? The problem statement that we write must be supported by previous studies. Of course,
Okay, Prof.
there are certain people, they write research, they write the problem statement out of their mind, yeah, out of their ideas. But so if you're presenting at a seminar, it should be all right. The professors who are the experts and who have the authority, they don't need uh, to base their research problem statement on previous studies. But as students, you may be an expert. Some of you have a doctoral degree already, but when we are doing PhD, we want to consider ourselves as a student.
Yeah, Prof. Hello,
Sure,
Prof.
go ahead, go
Prof.
ahead.
Prof. This is my next question, Prof. Sometimes when we try to make some research objective or objective statement, Prof. Sometimes we have to make or we have to declare about the benefits of research or benefit statement, Prof. Then my question is there something we should be concerned about regarding these two things, Prof, between purpose of a statement and benefit of statement, Prof? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Good question. There are some researchers that mentions a little bit about the benefit of the study early in the problem statement, a little bit. Towards the end of writing problem statement, some researchers, they just give the general idea of the benefit of the study. For example, the researcher says towards the end of the problem statement, this study is hoped to shed some lights on our on our understanding about blah 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 blah. So yeah, some researchers, they mention a little bit about the benefit of the study, but I think it's a good idea also. Just a general idea about the benefit of the study towards the end of the problem statement. But more importantly, you need to write for PhD. The favorite question in the Viva is, all right, Mr. So tell us, how good is your study? What your study contributes to the knowledge, something like that. What is your contribution of the study? You are doing PhD for 3 years. So tell us
You mean benefits for the university or our college? Yeah, from.
Yes. Sometimes
okay.
they just ask that question. So in order to prepare for that one, you need to write a specific section in chapter 1, right? Contributions of study. So in this section, contribution of the study usually is divided into two types of contribution. Number one is contribution to knowledge, right? What does this study contribute to the knowledge in terms of widening and broadening the current understanding about the topic, right? So the contributions to knowledge can be categorized into two. The contributions to the methods, if any. Maybe the method that you use can improve the state of the methods that are currently being employed. For example, you introduce new methods, new software, or you create something new in terms of analyzing data, if any. And then number two, contributions to the theory, right? Contributions to the theory. So maybe you develop some kind of theory that expands the knowledge, that expands the current knowledge. Maybe you add one or new variables that are significant that have not been studied before. So that's number one, contributions of your study to theory, right? And then number two, contributions to policy. So examiner might ask you, okay, Mr. Aji, is there any contributions of your study? You spent 3 years studying. What's the contribution to policymakers? For example, how can the authority or policymakers use your theory to come up with a better policy or better, measures that should be undertaken in the future? So yeah, Very good question, Papa Aji. I
Okay,
like
Prof.
questions. Please ask more questions.
Okay, okay, Prof. If yeah, when we talking about benefit of our research, is it when we expand, yeah, about the benefits, as much as possible for benefit from not only for study, Prof. For example, sometimes we try to explain or declare about the benefits for ourselves, for writers, I mean, or for maybe society or industry. Is it not is it okay, Prof, if we try to make some benefit more than maybe 2 or 3? Is it possible, or is it
Yes,
okay, Prof?
yes, yes. It's possible. For example, contributions to policy, right?
Yes.
You can divide it into contributions to authority or government or policymakers, right? And then number 2, contributions to practitioners, right? For example, you're doing a study on Islamic banking, for example. So maybe the practitioners, those people in the banking industry can make use of these findings to, for example, improve their service, right? To attract more customers, and then to get more customers and helps the growth of the company, for example. So yes, you can divide or classify your contributions to policies into many groups. To number 1 to authority, number 2 to practitioners, number 3 to academicians, number 4 to public in general, if any. So the more you write, the better. But the writing should be clear, right? So the writing should be academic, right? I mean, very good question. Any more questions? I like to take questions because it's better, because I don't know what you understand and what you don't understand. So if you ask me, then I know what you don't understand. I'm more than happy to answer. Okay, Bapak Aji, go ahead. If there is more questions, if there are more questions.
From me, it's enough, Prof. Maybe, yeah, I just want to some Prof. I have a case when I doing write a thesis, Prof. Yeah, this is yeah, it could be nice case or bad case. I don't know, Prof. Yeah, my professor has already read my proposal. Then the problem statement of our thesis. Yeah, this is they my professor put some sample, Prof. Aji, in your proposal, you want to make a fried rice. Then, but in your methodology, you put yeah, fried rice, but you not fried rice, but you boiled rice. This is not connected between your statement, question statement, and your methodology. Now, I hope for this moment, I mean, for our dissertation, I don't have some problem anymore like my thesis in my master degree, Prof.
Very, very good question. Good questions. Before I answer that question, can you tell me whether you are doing quantitative or qualitative research or mixed method?
Quantitative, Prof. Yeah,
Okay, good, good.
quantitative. Yeah, quantitative.
Okay.
Yeah. This is my thesis in bahasa ya, Prof. In bahasa evaluasi faktor-faktor nilai ekonomik value added dalam pengelompokan indeks saham pada Jakarta Islamic Index. So this is a full quantitative objective, Prof.
If you want to share, you can share.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can share.
Yeah.
We can see.
Okay. Yeah, I will, Prof. I will, Prof. Okay, for me, it's enough, Prof.
Yeah, you can share.
Prof, I need time to prepare. So I think you can go ahead. Your
Okay. Okay, let me try to share something here. Okay. Okay, let me share one thesis here. So the question by Bapak Aji was a good question. The examiner wants the objective of the study, the research question and research objective must be linked with the how you collect data, what must be linked with the method, right? And must also be linked with the theoretical framework of the study, right? So let's see how we do it. First, we refer to the theoretical framework of the study, right? For example, we have this framework. So you need to develop your own framework, right? So suppose this is the framework, just for example, right? Can you see or not? This is called the framework of the study. So if you're doing quantitative research for PhD, you need to develop the theoretical framework of the study. And can everyone see this framework? Bapak Haji, semua
Yes,
boleh
Prof.
nampak? Semua boleh lihat?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Yes,
Very
Prof.
useful. Yeah, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just an example. Last time I showed, some students, they follow this framework. No, this is just example. You need to develop your own framework depending on your topic, right? So this one, the one to the right, is called the dependent variable. This one is called mediating because it is in the middle, right? It mediates relationship between the independent variables. In this study, there are 4 IVs for independent variables. Of course, one DV, one dependent variable. And this is called the mediating, and this is called the moderating. We will talk more on this later. But I think what your supervisor wants you to write is, for example, how do you write your research questions, right? For example, this is just an example. You have 6 research questions, and then you have then you have 6 research objectives. All right, 6 research questions and 6 research objectives. So, for example, your objective is to examine the influence of attitude on intention, right? So to examine the influence of attitude on intention. And then the examiner the supervisor will ask you, okay, how do you want to collect data on attitude? How you want to collect the data on intention, right? So you say, okay, I want to use a questionnaire. I will employ questionnaire. So you need to develop questionnaire on attitude and intention, right? And then you must, your objective and your research questions must give an idea to you and to your supervisor about the kind of data that you want to collect later. So from these research questions and research objectives, if the supervisor asks, okay, what kind of data that you want to use, whether you want to use primary data or secondary data. If primary data, what type of primary data? So in this case, the questionnaire is the type of instruments that this researcher use. Okay, now the next question that your supervisor will look at is, okay, based on your research purpose or research objectives and research questions, okay, so the research questions and research objectives that you write or you establish here must link to your theoretical framework, right? So that is another thing that your supervisor will check. Okay, so here you have attitude and you have intention. Later on, you will develop hypothesis, right? H1 hypothesis. So all must be aligned with each other. So hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3, hypothesis 4, hypothesis 5, hypothesis 6. So you have 6 hypotheses, and then you have 6 research question, right? So you have 6 research question and you have 6 research objectives. And the keywords must be the same. Look at your research question. The first research question, the keyword is attitude, right? The keyword is attitude and intention. All right. And in the research objective, the attitude, the keyword is to examine the influence of attitude on intention. So these keywords must exist in your framework. So number one is attitude and the keywords are attitude and intention, right? So let's look at the framework. So the keywords here is attitude. The keywords are attitude and intention. Okay, so the words attitude and intention appear in research question and research objective. And also it appears in the hypothesis. After writing the theoretical framework of the study, you need to develop hypothesis, right? So after writing the theoretical framework of the study, you need to justify the inclusion of every variable. So for example, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 IVs. Why you include these IVs? So you need to justify here. So attitude is included based on these studies, for example, right? And then you explain about the attitude, right? The second is a subjective norm here. Okay, why subjective norm is included? So you need to justify why you include all these variables, all the IVs, the mediating variable, the moderating variable, and the compliance. After that, you need to develop hypothesis. Okay, so for the first variable, you have attitude, right? So you need to develop hypothesis. Okay, I will share. I already share this thesis, right? So please, you can read this thesis or any other PhD thesis to give you an idea of how we write the PhD thesis properly. So hypothesis development of attitude. You need to develop the hypothesis. You cannot simply write, okay, this is the hypothesis. Attitude towards compliance behavior of income has significant and positive influence on intention. So the keywords are the same, attitude and intentions. But you cannot simply write your hypothesis. You need to develop. To develop hypothesis, you need to look at the previous studies that have used this word, that has used this variable in their studies. So this person, he talks about previous studies, right, that have used attitude in their studies. Finally, the the researcher develops the hypothesis. So look at here. We have 6 hypotheses, right? And it is noted in the framework. It is written, H1 is the first hypothesis. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hypotheses. We have 6 questions, 6 research questions, and 6 research objectives. So this is very important in writing the PhD thesis. All the chapters must align with each other. Chapter 1 align with chapter 2, or chapter 2 align with chapter 3. Okay, Bapak Haji, am I making you more confused?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I've already saw your explanation. My question, Prof. You already saw us about this station, yeah, about the framework, work for the research. So my question, Prof, how to explain the benefits beyond the 6 research question and 6 research objective, Prof? I mean, does there have to be 6 benefit too?
No, no. The benefits or the contributions of the study doesn't have to be 6.
Okay.
So let me repeat. The alignment involves research questions, research objectives, right? Literature review, theoretical framework of the study, and the hypothesis for qualitative study. So let me repeat. The alignment involves research questions, research objectives, literature review, theoretical framework, and the hypothesis. So let me repeat. If you have 6 research questions, okay, you should have 6 research objectives, and you should have 6 hypotheses. So it is aligned with each other. And in order to have the 6 hypotheses and the 6 research questions and 6 research objectives, you need to show the relationship among the variables in the framework. How do you get your 6 research objectives? So the number 1, you want to, for example, you want to ask a question, how, for example, attitude influence intention, right?
Okay.
Question number 2 might be, what is the influence of subjective norm on intention? Question number 3, how perceived behavioral control influence intention, right? Number 4, what is the extent, for example, what is the extent of the impact of moral obligation on intention? Number 5 is how Islamic religiosity moderates the relationship between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, moral obligation, and intention. So you see the arrows here. So it shows the effects of moderation, whether Islamic religiosity strengthen or weaken the relationship among the independent variables and intention. And number 6 is your research question might be how or what is the influence of intention on compliance behavior. So for research questions, some researchers use the word how, okay, for example, how attitude influence intention, okay, or to what extent attitude influence intention, right? You can choose your own word. You can discuss with your supervisor. Okay, so Those are the things that need to be aligned. So if your supervisor says, okay, you have, for example, 5 objectives, but you have 10 hypotheses. So that means your hypothesis and your objectives are not aligned with each other. So it should be aligned, right? And what else? What was the question again? Bapak Aji, what was the question again? Oh, contribution, right? So the
Yeah, contribution.
contribution doesn't have to be aligned. Okay, for example, like I said, the benefit in research we say the significance. Okay, some people call the significance. Some people write it as contributions, right? So, for example, the contributions of the study, you can write in terms of contributions to method. If you think like the methods that you use is new, is different from the methods used by previous studies, right? So your methods contribute to the current methods because your methods is new. If your methods is new, if your method is not new, then there is no contribution to method. Okay, and then contributions to theory or knowledge, right? So how you can contribute to the current state of knowledge depends on you how you write. So you need to state very clearly how your study contributes. How maybe you contribute uh, new variable. Maybe you introduce new variables that you pick up from somewhere. Okay. So it's a good idea if you come up with new variables that have not been included in the theoretical framework of the studies related to the topic, but the variable uh, that you include might come from other theory, right? Might come from other theory. So there is contributions to knowledge, and then contributions to policy and authority, right? You can write more about contributions to policy and authority. Maybe the findings of your study will contribute to the policy makers. Maybe they can use your findings to plan, strategize, and implement new policy or new strategies or new measures. Maybe it can contribute to practitioners. You need to explain how your study contributes to practitioners, and maybe your study contributes to academicians. How they can use, for example, your here contributions to knowledge. How future research can use your framework, for example, to in their future studies. Okay. And then contributions to Muslim community. Maybe your study will help improve the understanding of the Muslim community. Maybe it helps improve the socio-economic conditions of the Muslim community. So you can write. All right. Bapak Aji?
Yes. So, Prof, okay, the conclusion, Prof, the conclusion. If we have to make an explanation about the benefits of our research, it is not mandatory or does not have to be in line with a number of items or problem points as the problem and the objective of our research. Is that the conclusion, Prof?
Yes, true.
Okay.
So
Okay.
your contributions is just how you explain to the reader about how this study benefits others, right? And for PhD, the contributions must look significant. Yeah, because this is PhD.
Okay.
You must have show to the reader that you can make a significant contribution to the theory, significant contributions to the knowledge, significant contributions to policymakers. So we have to perceive our work as important, and we have to show that our work is important. Whether it's true or not is another matter. So we need to show to the supervisor and especially the examiners that you are doing a significant work in your field, and it has significant benefits. It has significant contributions.
So the research contribution of our research does not have to be equal to the number of items, the problem, and
Yes.
the objective. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Okay. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Bu Putri, any questions? Siapa lagi sini ya? Tak nampak semua. Ustazah Khadijah, ada soalan? Ustazah Khadijah ada? Cik Zul?
Assalamualaikum, Doktor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Cik Zul boleh tanya soalan?
Okey, Doktor. Yalah, untuk peringkat master, kami peringkat master saya dengan Syarul kan.
Ya,
Doktor,
ya, ya.
untuk first time ni memanglah saya tulis je dulu macam doktor ada pesan tu. So kita tulis dulu, kemudian guide by doktor punya example tu. So saya pernah go through semua, tapi itulah doktor. Itu bukan bermakna saya dah ada hantar through email untuk kali pertama dan kali kedua, tapi belum finalize lagi doktor. Sebab masih lagi dalam keadaan yang perlu dibuat pembetulan ni lah.
Teruskan menulis. Nanti kalau dah update
sebab apa, bila ada yang perlu direktify lagi kan.
Ya, betul.
So nanti we will update soon, yang secepat mungkin lah. Tapi dalam pada apa tu, kami pun kekangan masa. So balik memang tetap malam kena tengok tu. Kalau dia miss, dia jadi burden tau. Sebab memang tengok. So hopefully kalau macam doktor ada tu, boleh komen lah. Nanti kalau untuk kita punya, saya punya tu lah. Yang untuk first hantar tu, sebab sekarang ni saya tengah go through sikit-sikit tentang untuk literature review. Lepas tu untuk buat untuk yang seterusnya lah, tapi tengok baru sebab pada masa yang sama Dr. Yati pun suruh ada buat tengok artikel dia, suruh pun tengok juga untuk surutan literature tu. Jadi untuk yang bahagian chapter 1 ni, okey, saya dah go through dah sikit-sikit. Kemudian dah buat, dah hantar untuk second pembetulan tu. Kemudian nanti minta tolong doktor tengok je yang mana kalau boleh doktor rectify sikit apa ni, untuk apa mungkin ada amendment sikit lagi ke apa ke. So pada masa yang sama saya ada rujuk dengan Mukri kat doktor.
Okay, good.
Saya ada rujuk dengan Mukri sebab dia tak boleh harap doktor je kan. Dan sebabnya dia tahu dalam keadaan masa tu lah kita kita nak allocate masa tu kan, doktor pun sibuk kan. Jadi ada rujuk dengan Mukri juga lah, sebab Mukri pun sibuk juga tu. Tapi tak apa, kita work out je, tak ada no problem tu. Kita cuba yang terbaik lah. Pada masa yang sama, saya cuba buat rujukan juga dengan YouTube, apa tu, try tu Google juga. Banyak juga sources dalam tu yang kita boleh refer. Cuma nak tahu dari segi konten yang kita masukkan tu dan dari apa yang related tepat dengan tajuk tu lah tu, nanti minta tolong kalau ada masa doktor tengok ke apa kan. Yang boleh ni at the same time saya akan cuba discuss juga dari masa ke masa dengan dengan Mukri, siap-siap minta panduan dia sikit. Dengan Syarul sekali nak kami
tanya Mukri macam mana dia guna Mendeley. Saya tengok
itulah.
Saya tengok dia punya dissertation bagus sebab dia guna Mendeley. Tanya dia macam
baik.
So
boleh tu.
nanti buat improvement dan WhatsApp saya tak apa.
Boleh.
Hantar the latest draft melalui WhatsApp. WhatsApp saya cepat sikit tengok.
Okey, baik. Boleh.
Kalau email kadang saya tak buka kan. Jadi saya
okey. Boleh. Baik.
Okey, terima kasih.
Baik.
Bu Tuti, any question? Bu Putri.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam.
How are you, Prof? It's been a long time, yeah.
How are you, Bu Tuti?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, I'm in the progress of development, or not development, but finalizing the question.
Good.
My question is, do I need, like what I heard, a co-promoter from local, or just you and Dr. Tahir, Prof? Because I heard from Dr. Tahir, he now become your, co-supervisor, isn't he, right?
I'm your supervisor.
Yeah. What about Dr. Tahir? Dr. Tahir said, is he co-supervisor or assistant supervisor, something like that.
Okay.
Is it right? Is it right or not?
I will check with him. Never mind.
Okay.
The most important is your main supervisor.
Yeah, that's true. So do I need from local here or not? It's not necessary, isn't it?
Not necessary.
Okay, thank you so much. And then the second, Prof, I have paid all the visa and also the tuition for the semester 3, but why my portal cannot be open, still passive, so I cannot register or do anything.
Regarding your portal, you need to call Professor Madya, Dr. Hadi Musallin or Dr. Yati. Because the administrative matter is done by the Graduate Management Center.
Okay.
I'm at the Kuliah, at the Center for Islamic Finance Education. I deal with the academic matters.
Okay. So I have to, because I cannot, open at all, for the registration. So I'm worried. I'm worrying if I still your student or not.
I understand, but like I said, the administrative matters.
Dr. Hadi and Dr. Yati, yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, okay. I cannot help you with that matter because it's beyond my authority.
Okay. The other.
I'm in charge of the class. I'm in charge of the supervision, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to your activation status, that is outside of my authority.
Okay, Prof, about question, I just want to ask you, there is a variable that I cannot find, the reference. I only get 2 questions, only get from 2 previous researcher, while the other variable I can completely more than 5 questions. But this part, I only can get 2 questions. So is there a problem if I have only 2?
Yes, so you need at least 8 items for each variable, 8 or more items in order to be analyzed using simultaneous equation modeling.
Yeah, but cannot, Prof. I
So-
cannot find.
So you need to get, like I mentioned, you need to get access to PhD thesis, right? I
Yeah,
give
I did.
you the link. I give you the link to get a previous thesis. So please make effort to get
Yeah.
to get
Only just only just one variable that I cannot find reference. This is very, you know, takes my time a lot.
like I said, the only way is to get more PhD thesis or more full research, because like I mentioned before, usually the journal articles, right, and the
Yeah, yeah,
and the proceedings, they don't attach the items of the questionnaire.
yeah,
So only full research papers
yeah, and then read it and then
and
try to find
a
out.
full PhD thesis
Yeah,
gives you or give the attachment of
yeah,
the items of the questionnaire.
yeah.
So you need to put more effort to get more PhD thesis related to the theory that you use.
Yeah. Okay.
So I give you the link. I can resend later.
Yeah. Okay.
I give you the link of the link that you can access PhD thesis.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's all.
So Bu Putri, you look clear. Assalamualaikum, Mr. Songko. Welcome to the class. Any more question before we go back to our theory? Yes. Go ahead. Any question?
Ngapain nih? Oh,
Siapa ya? Ada soalan?
sama kisah Kak.
All right, let's continue. This is an example of a purpose statement in a case study. Case study is a type of research design that belongs to the qualitative research, right? Okay. Can we take a 10 minutes break for coffee? Yeah, inshallah, I will come back in about 10 minutes. If you have any questions, then please ask when I come back. Mr. Songko, can you hear us? Ahlan wa sahlan. Ustazah Hadijah, ada soalan? Boleh perkenal diri, Ustazah Hadijah? Okay. Ustazah Hadijah is our new student, just joining our PhD program. Mr. Songko Muhammadi is in the process of joining us. he is sitting in this class. Okay, Mr. Sonko, can you hear me? Cannot, eh? All right, inshallah, I will come back in about 10 minutes for coffee break. Assalamualaikum.
Nak estimate. Kami ikutkan punya presentasi tu banyak benda nak tulis tapi tak cukup kan Mak biarlah apa yang ada.
Tak ada isi lah. Tak ada tak isi gini yang ni kita tak bagi ni. Kan orang-orang yang tak ada kena isi lah kan. Okey esok tu. Sekali dengan Prof, sekali dengan Ustaz Aisyah.
Sebab dia kajian kita dia asingkan
tiga tu dia sebab kami dekat dia dapat misi tu. Kami dalam grup tu untuk semua serahkan kepada dia untuk dia selaraskan untuk tiga ni. Jadi dia faham tu dia faham dia hantar kat dia kat ini tu kat Esok hantar apa nak daftar. Dia hantar kat dia kat dia akan dapat dia. Yang lawaknya Wani pergi kat Kinah. Dia email kat dia tak siapa. Wani Kak dia tengok balik borang tu kan. Ada dah penilaian Kinah. Lawak. Faham tak? So Soleha balik kat Ustaz Mat. Ustaz Mat balik kat Soleha. Soleha bagi kat dia. Tu yang bila Soleha tanya awak, kami kena ambil dekat Ustaz Mat ke tak lah. Dia just nak tengok. Benda tu cakap dia tengok kat ini. Okay, nanti kita nak isi apa. Soleha pun kena tengok macam overall.
Macam Kak Zul dia bagi. Kak Zul apa kami dah isi tapi kami saja dalam baca dia tu. Apa kita pun kan kita nak tengok sangat pun dia kan.
Bukan yang tu Fina. Bukan. Maksudnya patah balik kat Fina. Faham tak? Wani bagi dekat Kina. Jadi Kina patah balik kat Wani. So Wani tengok apa yang Kina isi untuk dia. Faham tak? Maksudnya sepatutnya kalau yang nak bagi orang Wani nak bagi dekat Gajah, siapa betul bagi? Kina tak. Ni Wani yang bagi.
Kenapa? Dia siapa?
Gajah rasa Kina dia tak faham lah tu. Maksudnya kenapa dia pergi bagi dekat, sepatutnya dia kena bagi dekat Tashidan tu dia. Tak pun dia bagi dekat
jadi elok je kan.
Jadi si Wani tahulah apa yang Kina tulis. Macam Kak Jah dulu. Kak Jah borang Kak Jah bagi dekat Cik Wan. Cik Wan bagi kat Prof. Dia tak tahu. Dia tak tahu apa yang Cik Wan tulis.
Nak tiba Prof kita tak tahu.
Dia tak tahu. Tapi Kak Jah boleh tahu balik Prof bagi balik ke Kak Jah. Prof kata tak balik dia sebab dia baru naik je. Jadi Ustazah terus saya. So Kak Jah seorang je. Dia penilai seorang. Bukan kerana waktu tu kan dia baru naik bulan 10-11. So dia tak bagilah untuk dia isi penilaian tu je. Dia bagi kat dia orang lawak. Kenapa Setiap bagi tak? Bagi tu kat dia setul tu. So kat dia kena isi balik. Bagi untuk paksa dia. Kita tahu apa yang Cik Wan tu dia bagusnya lah. Semua elok lah. Tak lah. Dia jangan melawak lah. Kita tak tahu nak tulis orang sampai 70 tu tak buat kerja kot. Tahu dah nak isi. Kita tahu dah nak isi. Kita tak tahu nak isi. Kita isi apa? Bayar suam pun tak apa, sejuk pun tak apa.
Tapi nanti dia pun akan tengok apa langkah kurator punya nama benda kedua kan.
Tambah dulu. Rupanya kalau kat sekolah-sekolah ni 80 ke bawah pun memang nak kena tutup bila lah. Dia pernah RM80. Dia pernah RM90. Pada ni bila duk baca balik pasal dia aku duk dia letak itu bila kita first time. Okey je, kita buat tak ni. Buku ni kita mana nak reti isi. Kami kita semua Ustaz Aisyah mana nak tahu isi.
Pakai ni pun pakai isi kalau yang kat siapa nak isi pun semua kan. Baru ni. Kami ni lah bagi orang kosong. Dia bagi contoh, dia tak bagi contoh kat tu, dia contoh printing lah kan. So semua kita pun tanya, kita kira tanya juga kat orang ni, mana kalau kerja di kat Anji sana, nak kena kat sana, apa tanggapan apa tu, apa yang kita bagi betul, yang lambat siap, tak siap dan semua.
Ni Kak Jah balik ni, Kina pula tak ada. Wani dengan ke Liza dah cover. Kina apalah Kak Yani ada dah. Jadi tak ada lah tempang sangat dekat ZPA tu. Lagipun sem depan bulan 4 tak ada pemasukan pelajar baru. Jadi lega sikit lah Kina beranak time ni. Kina beranak ni. Saya tak tahu lepas ni apa aku nak dekat.
Allah, boleh Allah letak tu elok.
Tak boleh lah.
Allah letak tu
Tak,
elok.
bukan. Tak ada rasa macam
Tambah
tak
pula.
lama bila kat kita 3 bulan ni lagu tak ada sedang.
Mula sebab tak nampak kat tempat tu. Duduk kat sini kan.
Tak ada masa 3 bulan ni kaya cuti.
Cuma seminggu, 2 minggu kat dia masuk tu mungkin tak je akan rasa lain sikit lah sebab dah cuti.
Tak ada. Saya dah tahu sebulan pertama kaya down lah. Buat kena rasa tak boleh buat kerja. Kita terpaksa tinggal benda kat dia rasa kerisauan. Lepas tu kat dia aku kata aku tak cuba positif balik enjoy. Okay aku jalan. Bila dia suruh jom jalan. Sebenarnya kaya nak kaya tak mau pecat kerja langsung. Sungguh. Tapi kami jalan seminggu. Kaya tak mau kaya enjoy gila. Dia nanti balik ni.
Betul tengok apa kata kan dah sembang dengan Fano. Bestnya apa Jenny jalan Johor pasal.
Memang kat dia tak pernah rasa seronok macam tu. Sebab kita kan kerja tu sebenarnya. Memang kat dia niat macam tu. Tapi dia tak bawa. Memang bawa juga. Kemana pun bawa. Kalau kita tak intis apa-apa orang nak tanya, mesti kita kena.
Tapi kan PPA ni apa jika tak ada paper kami pun dah tak ada. Kami pun tak ada sekolah. Tak ada sekolah.
Itu kat dia pun. Cuma lah ni kat dia di pecah balik. Bila dah sebulan kat hidup ni. Kat dia tambah naik-naik hak baru naik ni kan. Dia jadi lagi macam dia rasa kita tak ada apa. Tak ada rasa dulu. Dia rasa macam dia rasa
Yang penting
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let's continue with the purpose statement in a case study. Case study is a type of qualitative research. So this is just an example. Course 1991 conducted a multiple case study of perceptions of reading disabled middle school students concerning factors that prevented the students from progressing in their reading development. The purpose statement read as follows. The purpose of this study was to explore effective social and educational factors that may have contributed to the development of reading disabilities in 4 adolescents. The study also sought an explanation as to why students' reading disabilities persisted despite years of instruction. This was not an intervention study, and although some students may have improved their reading, the reading improvement was not the focus of the study. So that's an example of a purpose statement in a qualitative research. It's a very general at the beginning, and later on might be need to be improved to be more specific. Note, a case study is a research approach used to generate an in-depth, multifaceted understanding of a complex issue in its real-life context. Thus, it is an established research design used extensively in various disciplines, particularly in the social sciences. Case studies are a popular research method in the business area. Case studies aim to analyze specific issues within the boundaries of a particular environment, situation, or organization. So this is an example of topic and an investigation into the reasons of the global financial and economic crisis of 2008 to 2010. This is a purpose statement in an ethnography. Ethnography is a type of qualitative studies designed to study about the ethnics, about the ethnics, or about the phenomena of a certain race or a certain groups of people. Rhodes 1997 conducted a 2-year ethnographic study exploring how the campus climate can be improved for gay and bisexual males. So in this case, the target group of study is the gay and bisexual males at a large university. This is the site of the study. His purpose statement included as follows. The article contributes to the literature addressing the needs of gay and bisexual students by identifying several areas where progress can be made in improving the campus climate for them. The paper derives from a 2-year ethnographic study of a student subculture composed of gay and bisexual males at a larger research university. The focus of men reflects that lesbian and bisexual women constitute a separate student subculture at the university under study. So recall that ethnography is a qualitative study of social interactions, behaviors, and perceptions within certain groups or certain ethnics, within teams, organizations, and communities. Thus, it is a descriptive study of a particular human society or the process of making such a study. Contemporary ethnography is based almost entirely on fieldwork. So ethnography relies mostly on fieldwork, where the researcher will go to the specified mentioned location to study a specific groups or a specific teams or a specific organizations. So this ethnography requires the complete immersion of the anthropologist in the culture and everyday life of the people that they study. Another example, a purpose statement in a grounded theory study. Ritchie and colleagues, 1997, conducted a qualitative study to develop a theory of the career development of 18 prominent, highly achieving African American, Black and white women in the United States working in different occupational fields. In the second paragraph of the study, they stated the purpose. The present article describes a qualitative study of the career development of 18 prominent, highly achieving African American, Black and white women in the United States across 18 occupational fields. Our overall aim in the study was to explore critical influences on the career development of these women, particularly those related in the attainment of professional success. This is a purpose statement of a grounded theory. Recall, grounded theory is a research method concerned with the generation of theory. So the purpose of grounded theory is to generate a theory which is grounded in data. So the theory comes from the data. So the researcher will collect, analyze the data, okay, and then from the data, the researcher ultimately comes up with a theory, right? So researchers use the grounded theory to reveal social relationships and behaviors of groups known as a social process. Grounded theory is a research method in which researchers develop the theory from the data rather than the other way around. So for quantitative research, we have the theory, then we collect the data, we analyze data to test whether the data support or reject the theory. But in a grounded theory, it's the other way around. The researcher collect, analyze the theory, and then the researcher collect and analyze the data. And from the data, the researcher develops the theory.
It is inductive, yeah, Prof.
Yeah, it uses an inductive approach.
Okay.
Meaning that it moves from specific to the more general.
So meaning it's used for the qualitative, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So grounded theory is one type of research design that belongs to the qualitative
Okay.
research. So grounded theory refers to a set of systematic inductive methods for conducting qualitative research aimed towards theory development. So the major purpose of grounded theory is to develop a new theory based on the data. Increasingly, researchers use the term grounded theory to mean the methods of inquiry for collecting and in particular analyzing data and ultimately come up with a theory. So grounded theory commonly uses the following data collection methods: interviewing participants. So some they use interviewing participants with open-ended questions. Open-ended questions means the researcher starts with a few questions and then based on the answers given by the interviewees, the researcher will follow up with more and more questions. Like pemberita, the the researcher first asks questions, specific questions, and then the researcher later on add questions based on the answers given by the respondents. Or grounded theory also can use participant observation or fieldwork and or focus groups. Nowadays, during this pandemic, is becoming more and more difficult to do the participant observation, because in the participant observation, the researcher will have to be among the participants and the researcher needs to participate in the everyday activities of the respondents. So because of the pandemic, and this is quite difficult to do now. Mr. Sonko,
I'm sorry.
are you with us, Mr. Sonko? Can you introduce yourself? Mr. Sonko is in the process of applying and joining the PhD program. He's still in the process of visa application. Ustazah Hadijah, boleh perkenal diri? Ustazah Hadijah just joined us last week, I think. Boleh perkenal diri, Ustazah Hadijah? Oh. Okay, grounded theory commonly uses interview, participant observation, and or focus groups. Focus groups means the researcher assemble two or more groups, and the researcher will ask each group certain questions, and then the researcher becomes like a moderator, yeah? Ask questions to different groups, two or more groups, to obtain the information or to get the data, right? So the questions that the researcher asks depends on the objective of the study, right? Oh, all right. So grounded theory also use the study of artifacts and texts. Some people call it library research, right? So they study the old and new documents in order to get the information. So there are many PhD students who do qualitative studies. They focus on the interview and the library research, right? Some people say a study of artifacts and texts. Some people call it library research. It's actually an examination of past documents, whether books, artifacts, texts, or journal articles. All right, any question? Maaf Prof, link kami kadang ada, kadang tak ada. Songko, Assalamualaikum Prof, Waalaikumsalam. Thank you for all your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Songko. Okay, now let's go to quantitative research. So purpose statement in quantitative research. Quantitative purpose statements differ considerably from the qualitative research in terms of the language and focus on relating or comparing variables or constructs. So unlike the qualitative, in quantitative research, we need to develop the theoretical framework of the study, right? So in the theoretical framework of the study, commonly at PhD level, we have independent variables, mediating variables, moderating and dependent variable. The design of quantitative purpose statement includes the variables in the study and their relationships, the participants and the research site. It also provides language associated with quantitative research and the deductive testing of relationships or theories. Like I mentioned before, in the quantitative research, we need to develop the theoretical framework of the study. We need to justify every variables that we include in the framework, right? If we decide to use a questionnaire, then we need to construct the items of the questionnaire. The items of the questionnaire refer to the questions, to the questions that we ask respondents for each of the variables. So for PhD, it is recommended that we have at least 8 items or 8 questions in the questionnaire for each of the variable. Each variable at least contains 8 questions or 8 items. And the items that the researcher develops, right, must be based on previous studies. It's better to adapt and adopt the questionnaire items from previous studies. So for all of you, please, when you develop the theoretical framework later on, you will have to construct the questionnaire items or questionnaire questions. And don't, it is not recommended that you construct the items yourself. Jangan tulis sendiri ya. Soalan dalam questionnaire itu mesti berdasarkan kepada kajian-kajian lepas. The items, the questionnaire items or the questionnaire questions should be adapted and adopted from previous studies. Why? Because previous studies usually they tested the validity and reliability of the items. Okay, so if you do yourself, then it'd be more difficult because you will have to do the testing of validity and reliability, face validity,
Oh ya, manis.
and other tests.
Halo, Prof.
Yes, Bapak Adi.
Sorry, Prof. Can I
Sure, go
ask?
ahead.
Okay, Prof. You have already explained about the quantitative and qualitative proposed statement. So this is a simple question. Can quantitative research and qualitative research be used together, Prof? And the second question, is it better than if we choose only one, Prof? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Very good question, Bapak Haji. um, how do I answer? Number one, you want to finish your PhD within 3 years.
Okay.
All right. So this is just my personal opinion. You have to, plan very well from the beginning.
Okay.
That you want to finish within 3 years,
Okay.
equivalent to 6 semesters. If it is sufficient to conduct only one type of study, for example, quantitative, if it is enough, then you should use just one type of research. If your study is quantitative, right, and the data that you collect can answer all your research questions, research objectives, and has a significant contribution and reach PhD level, then you just do quantitative. Because it depends. In some topic, okay, if it's necessary, then you can complement the quantitative research with qualitative research. But you have to bear in mind, if you want to finish within 3 years, if you do mixed method, it will be a lot of work, I think.
Yeah. So, Prof. So that's why. Yeah. So that's why I asked to you about the choosing of our methodology or our research type, Prof. Because I thought I plan not to finish in 3 years, Prof. Yeah, it could be less than 2 years, Prof. That's my plan.
Yes. So if you choose quantitative, then if your data, that you collect and the data analysis that you will do can answer the research questions and research objectives. And if your supervisor thinks it is enough, then it is enough. Because if you do a mixed method, it might take a longer time, right? It might take a longer time. So if you do qualitative, for example, and you think that it is sufficient, then you do qualitative. So it depends. Some PhD students, they do quantitative. Some they do qualitative. Some they do mixed methods, where they start with quanti and complement with quali, or some they start with qualitative, then they complement with quantitative. But usually the mixed method take longer than either quantitative or qualitative research alone. So depends on what you want. So my suggestion is plan your
So,
study.
yeah, Prof. I think after we have discussed and heard about your explanation, the theory, yeah, I think it's better that I start to choose the research type, qualitative or quantitative. Then I have to focus to put the title of research problem. I mean, the title or research problem is the second step maybe from for me, Prof, because it's better that I have to choose which are better if I choose qualitative or quantitative research first. Then after that, maybe the title can come up after we have declared and definite to choose the qualitative or quantitative research type, Prof.
Yes. So you decide which type of research that you choose. After you decide, then you try to stick with it.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, yeah, agree.
So that you
Agree.
can successfully finish your study.
Yes. Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Like you have, you want to get married. You have first lady, and you have a second lady you want to choose. You think carefully. Suppose you choose the second lady, and then you stick with the lady until the rest of your life. Don't change until you finish your PhD. Once you decide the method that you want to use. Because if you keep changing, you might not finish your study. I have a friend who did a quantitative, but he kept changing the DV. He kept changing the DV,
Yeah.
and he kept changing the IVs.
Yeah. Yes. Prof.
And then he couldn't finish within 4 years. And then he extended the period of studies until I think 6 years, and he still couldn't finish within 6 years. Well, billah. Innalillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. So macam mau kahwin, saya cakap dengan dia dulu, macam mau kahwin. Kamu pilih DV, kamu pilih DV, kamu pilih IV, kamu pilih mediating, kamu pilih moderating, kamu justify.
Yeah, Prof. But Prof, if you're talking about how to the ladies number, first lady or second lady, I think in Islam we can choose for ladies. Is that true, Prof?
Okay.
Sorry, Prof. It's joke.
You can choose 4 ladies. You can choose
Ladies,
1, 2, 3, 4. But if 1 is enough, then just stick with 1. But if you can handle 2, then you marry 2. If you can handle 3, you marry 3. So if you can handle both quali and quanti, then it's okay. But if you can handle just 1, just have.
Yeah, Prof. If we can be fair, then 4 is better. Is that right, Prof?
Yeah. Yeah, I have only 1 wife because 1 wife is enough for me.
Okay, Prof. Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Okay, any other question? Bu Patria, Bu Putri, siapa lagi ya? How many we have? We have 12 participants. Some people left already. So let me repeat, this class is, I think, is very important. And you attend the class, try to understand the class, and then write your thesis. After understanding the theory, after understanding the class, then if you don't write, it is no use. So remember to write your assignment 1, right? Let me repeat. Please review assignment 1, right? For assignment 1 is just the initial plan. So you need to write the problem statement, research questions, research objective, contributions of the study, a little bit of literature review, and a little bit on the research method that you use. So please finish it within 2 or 3 weeks. Okay? Don't wait. So keep improving on the research proposal. I'm sure all of you have sent your research proposal, right? But the same research proposal, you need to improve. Keep improving. Keep improving. While studying this research class, okay, you can try to improve your what you call your initial proposal. Remember, you want to finish and get your PhD as soon as possible. So don't wait. At PhD level, okay, let me tell you a story. I have a friend who finished PhD in the UK in less than 3 years. In less than 3 years. So he told me at first his English was very bad. So he didn't speak English very well. So what happened was every day he went to the library, search articles, and he often visited his supervisor and asked his supervisor's questions, and he always came up with new articles, new books that he read, and he discussed with the supervisor, and he did whatever the supervisor asked him to do. So he finished within less than 3 years. So that means it's up to the students. Don't wait. If the students don't do anything, the supervisor cannot help you. You need to every day keep on improving on what you already have. All of you have submitted the initial plan, but it's not enough. We accept the initial plan that you submitted just to choose your supervisor. It doesn't mean your initial plan is good enough. We designed this class so that you can improve from time to time your initial plan, and inshallah, you will present at colloquium 1 very soon. The date will be announced by our postgraduate coordinator, Dr. Tahir. Okay. Another friend of mine, he couldn't finish his PhD. Before doing PhD, he did lots of research, right? He did lots of research under his belt. So he did PhD in the UK, and he came up to his supervisor, and sometimes or oftentimes he argued with the supervisor. He didn't agree with the supervisor, and then they had some arguments on certain points, because the PhD student believed that he was correct, he was right. He has extensive experience in doing research under his belt. So But when you are a student, you know, you have to be humble. Whether your supervisor is correct or not, your supervisor is correct. So that's how you manage your relationship with your supervisor. So the personal and academic relationship is important.
Tanya, Prof.
Silakan, siapa?
Ibu Emi.
Bu Emi, silakan.
Ya, terima kasih, Prof. Kita harus menyerahkan assignment 1 di 12 Februari.
Betul.
Nah, kalau supervisornya belum ditunjuk, bagaimana, Prof? Apakah kami
Tidak perlu, tidak perlu tunjuk. Tidak perlu tunjuk.
Oke, jadi kita membuat sesuai penugasan saja. Nanti kalau ada supervisor kemudian ganti tema, tidak apa-apa ya, Prof?
Tidak apa-apa. Betul, betul Bu Emi. Fokus utama sekarang siapkan assignment 1.
Ya.
Kemudian katakan selepas ini diberi appointed, dilantik supervisor.
Ya.
Tunjuk saja assignment 1 itu sekiranya supervisor memberi komen, then boleh mengambil komen dan keep improving.
Okay.
So colloquium 1 lambat lagi ya, tapi colloquium 1 lambat lagi ya, tapi assignment 1 12 Februari cepat. So tak sempat tunjuk kepada supervisor. Tak perlu tunjuk.
Oke. Tak perlu menunggu supervisor ya.
Tak perlu menunggu.
Oke.
Cuma untuk colloquium 1 saja nanti tunjuk dahulu ya.
Oke.
Sebelum masuk colloquium 1.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Tapi sekiranya colloquium 1 itu sudah bagus, supervisor will be very happy to say, okay, you can present at colloquium 1. You say to your supervisor, ask Prof Yusuf to check, and Prof Yusuf said it's okay. I think your supervisor will be very happy. Mr. Sonko.
Yes, Professor. Sorry, I'm traveling. I'm fine. How are you, Professor?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing very fine. We are having class, and we are happy to hear your voice. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I thank for your very grateful efforts and joining you. Inshallah, I'm waiting my documents to be fully processed to seriously engage in your classes. But Alhamdulillah, I'm very eager for your services. And so far, I have a good start with you, especially.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, I started writing.
We are looking forward to your proposal. You can send your proposal to me. I will take a look at it, and inshallah, you can start. You can start in June officially, and if you have your proposal ready, then it will be very smooth journey for you, inshallah.
Okay. Okay, by Monday we will receive it, inshallah.
Inshallah, I will give you the link to the YouTube channel when you can view the previous lectures.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. So we are looking forward to having you. We are looking forward to have you as our PhD students. We are happy.
I'm eagerly waiting.
Okay, inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. Thank you for that nice welcome.
You are most welcome. So you can contact me anytime. You can WhatsApp me anytime.
All right, all right.
Keep on writing, and if you have the latest proposal, you can send.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Every time you improve, you send to my WhatsApp.
Inshallah, Professor.
Okay, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Nice day. Not every
Say
young.
to you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Sosonko is from Uganda.
Yes.
How's the weather? How's the weather? Must be very hot. Eh?
It's not very far.
Is it
But
hot?
inshallah one day we shall meet.
Okay, inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah, we shall meet inshallah one day.
Your brother, Mr. Hamza, will be coming soon to Malaysia, right?
Okay.
He said he will be coming in March.
All right.
Okay, Bu, any more questions from everyone?
Prof, sorry, Prof. Yeah,
Silakan.
Prof. Yeah, this is a closing statement from me, maybe, Prof. Yeah, first of all, hello, Prof.
Yes, yes. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, this is maybe first of all for me, Prof. Yeah, yeah. So before I start writing, yeah, I really want to take a theory course first from you. Then after we have been joined in your class, in fact, there are many things that I have to ask you when you give a theoretical about the research methodology. So yeah, I just only want to forgive myself if I ask a lot to you, because it's because I really need to ask, and because I don't know understand, or maybe I really need to more understand about the theory. But for regarding our proposal on target February 12th, yeah, inshallah I will commit to fulfill, Prof.
Yes,
Thank you,
please,
Prof.
please try your best to submit your initial proposal. And I think I gave everyone the rubric to write assignment 1, right? Bu Hemi, everybody, you got the rubric for
Yes.
assignment 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just follow the rubric.
Yes.
It should be around 20 pages. If less, then don't worry. For example, if you can write 15, don't worry. So 20 is not the necessary number. It's just like a general, you know, it's not necessary to have 20 pages, but 20 pages is just a nice number. If you write 18, 21, 23, it's all right. Last semester, there were 2 students who wrote about 50 pages. So it's okay. It's okay. It's just your initial plan. We want to see what you want to do. So we take a look at it and we give comments, you know, so we go from there. We go from there. If you cannot submit your initial plan, then it's difficult to move forward. Yeah, Bapak Haji, yeah? It's difficult to move forward if you don't submit the initial plan.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to know what you want to, you want to know what you want to write.
Okay, okay, I will, Prof.
Yeah. Then we go from there, right?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Try your best.
Actually, I'm not sure about my topics, Prof. So I didn't write because I'm confusing about my topics.
You want to share your topic? You can share now.
I have already last week, but I think I have to make sure and I have to make some research about the topic.
Okay. Don't worry about making mistakes. Keep on writing. Okay. So as we go along, you try to improve your initial plan, right? All right. So we have about 15 or 20 more minutes to go. All right. So let's continue with the quantitative research purpose statements. So in quantitative research, when we write research questions, research problems, RQ and RO, research questions and research objectives. Usually we base our research questions and research objectives on the theoretical framework, like I showed you at the beginning of the lecture. In the theoretical framework, usually there are independent variables. You can have 4 or 5 independent variables. Usually you have one mediating, and some people have one moderating, and of course you need to have dependent. The question is, do I need moderating? Do I need mediating? This is just my opinion. For PhD, you want your model to be as comprehensive as possible, right? So if you have moderating, you have mediating, your variable, your framework looks rich, yeah, looks rich. But of course, every independent variables, every mediating, moderating, and dependent variable that you include in the theoretical framework must be based on the previous studies and must be based on the theory and expectations. So you cannot just simply throw in variable that you like. You have to justify why you include that variable. Why you don't include other variable? Why you include this variable? You need to explain. And you justify the inclusion of the variables based on the previous studies. Mention who this person, who have indicated or who have revealed that these variables are significant. Okay, so you might have to justify why the variables are included, why they are significant, why they need to be studied. And your framework must be different from other studies. You cannot copy and paste framework of other studies, right? Your framework must have the characteristics of novelty. Novelty. Novelty means it's the first of its kind. You are the first to use that framework, meaning your framework must be different somewhat from other frameworks. For example, if you have 7 variables, okay, 4 variables might be the same, or okay, 3 variables are different, something like that. Or 5 variables are the same, 2 variables are new. So you cannot replicate any framework from other studies. Tak boleh sama ya. Framework yang kita buat itu tak boleh sama dengan framework orang lain, ya. The design of a quantitative purpose statement includes the variable in the study and the relationships, the participants, the research site. It also provides language associated with quantitative research and the deductive testing of relationships or theories. So deductive testing means we need to develop our theoretical framework, then we collect and analyze data. Then after analyzing data, we will determine whether the data supports or do not support the theory. A quantitative purpose statement begins with identifying the proposed significant variables in the study. Independent, intervening, dependent, accompanied by a visual model. So it has to have visual models, just like the one that I show you. the visual model contains all the variables, and the arrow shows a relationship. Okay. To determine the sequence and locating and specifying how the variables will be measured or observed, and the nature of the relationship. Independent variables will affect mediating variables, and mediating affects the dependent variables, or whether the independent variables directly affect the dependent variables. Finally, the intent of using variables quantitatively will typically be either to relate variables, as one usually finds in a survey, or to compare samples or groups in terms of an outcome, as commonly found in experiments. So in experiments, usually they compare samples or groups, but in our study, usually we show the causal relationship. Yeah, the causal relationships mean the cause and effect. This variable will have an impact or will influence the other variables. The major components of an excellent quantitative purpose statement include the following. Include words to signal the primary intent of the study, such as the purpose or intent or objective of the study. Start with, for example, the purpose or objective or intent of the study is what? Can you hold on?
Kamu nanya. Kamu nanya. Mele. Inakulia mbele. Mongo. Mele. Mongo. Mele. Mele. Mama kenapa dia sih? Mele. Sini sama. Sini. Mama sini sama ya. Mama kolat. Mama kolat. Ada.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, we will try to finish our class. All right. The major components of an excellent quantitative purpose statement include the following. Include words to signal the primary intent of the study, such as purpose, intent, or objectives. Start with the purpose or objective or intent of the study is what? Then identify the theory, model, or conceptual framework. So before we write the purpose statement, we need to develop our conceptual framework, right? At this point, one does not need to describe it in detail. So when writing the purpose statement or the objective, we do not need to describe in detail. We keep the framework in chapter 3, right? So mentioning it in the purpose statement emphasizes the importance of the theory and foreshadows its use in the study. But the framework will guide us on how to write the research purpose. And then identify the independent and dependent variables and any mediating, moderating, or control variables used in the study. Use words that connect the independent and dependent variables to indicate that they are related, such as the relationship between two or more variables, or a comparison of, or the influence of this independent variable on the dependent variable, or other words. Also, a purpose statement could be to describe variables. Most quantitative studies employ one or more of these three options for discussing variables in the purpose statement. A combination of comparing and relating might also exist. But in our case, usually I found that most of the PhD thesis focus on the relationship, right? How one variable influences the other variable. Position or order the variables from left to right in the purpose statement, with independent variables followed by the dependent variables. For example, to examine the influence of attitude, okay? Attitude is the dependent variable. Attitude is the independent variable on the compliance behavior. So we place attitude at the left, and later followed by the compliance behavior. We start with independent and then followed by the dependent. Mention the specific type of inquiry strategy, such as a survey or experiment research used in the study. By incorporating this information, the researcher anticipates the discussion of the methods and enables a reader to associate the relationship of variables to the inquiry approach. Make reference to the participants or the unit analysis in the study. You need to mention also the unit of study. Who are the respondents of the study, or what? Who are the units of analysis? And also mention the research site. maybe you want to do in Aceh, in Sumatra, or in a specific location that you want to study. All right. Okay. Example of a purpose statement in a dissertation survey study. DeGraw 1984 completed a doctoral dissertation in education on educators working in adult correctional institutions. He advances the purpose of the study. Okay, he says the purpose of the study was to examine the relationship between personal characteristics and the job motivation of certified educators who taught in selected state adult correctional institutions in the United States. Personal characteristics were divided into background information about the respondent, that is institutional information, educational level, prior training, etc., and information about the respondents' thoughts of changing jobs. The examination of the background information was essential to this study because it was hoped it would be possible to identify the characteristics and factors contributing to significant differences in mobility and motivation. The second part of the study asked the respondents to identify those motivational factors of concern to them. Job motivation was defined by 6 general factors identified in the Educational Work Component Study, EWCS questionnaire. These 6 factors are potential for personal challenge and development, competitiveness, desirability and reward of success, tolerance for work pressures, conservative security, and willingness to seek reward despite uncertainty versus avoidance. So that is an example of the general objective of the study. And then, of course, you need to also write the specific objectives of the study based on the general objective of the study. All right. So how's everyone? I think everyone is tired already. It's a long class, about 3 hours. So before we end, please ask questions. Bapak Hendra.
Halo Prof.
Yes, go ahead.
Ya Prof, sorry Prof. Line kami ni kadang ada, kadang tak ada, macam ni lah. Kalau kami lagi kuliah ni. Kadang ada, kadang tak ada line tu. Itulah.
Oh, okay. Okey, kalau tak ada apa-apa soalan, itu saja kelas untuk hari ini. InsyaAllah saya akan bagi link kepada Google Classroom dan juga link kepada YouTube channel where you can view the previous classes. You can also view classes from last semester. Okay, so there are many videos on various classes, on all the classes that I have taught. I have taught a research method every semester, so you can view class from this semester and also from last semester. And I have also taught, I have also managed classes of fiqh for Islamic finance, management of waqaf and zakat, qawaid fiqhiyah, what else? Usul fiqh at master's level. If you want to learn about, some aspects of Islamic finance, you can join Fiqh for Islamic finance. Okay, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I want to be an influencer. I want to be famous.
Okay, Prof.
Okay, Prof.
Okay,
Saya
Prof.
sama
Don't
Prof
worry.
dia dah follow Prof, dah subscribe.
My channel has
Baik, Prof.
49. My channel has 49 subscribers.
Oh.
So I target 10,000, but so far only 49. So very far from reaching the target. Okay. So inshallah, I will give you the link to Google Classroom and also to my YouTube channel where you can view all my previous lectures. Okay. So that's all the class for today. Until next class, we recite tasbih kafara dan suratul as. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh. You are
warahmatullahi
welcome.
Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you,
Thank
Prof.
you,
Thank you, Prof.
Terima kasih
Thank you,
ibu-ibu,
Prof.
bapak-bapak.
See you next week.
Ya, see you next week, insyaAllah. Ya.
Ya,
Jaga diri baik-baik ya.
ya, Prof.
Ya, Prof.
Sorry, Prof. Sini agak bising karena tetangga hidupkan musik, Prof.
Okey.
Ya,
Salam sihat ya.
ya,
Assalamualaikum
Prof.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Siap, Prof. Terima kasih, Prof.